7. Sin, guilt, and civil government. Stauffer wisely observed, "You must first grasp the reality of guilt if you are to know what history is." He commented further, "The history of man is the history of guilt rolling through the ages like an ever-increasing avalanche. This guilt is the daimonia of self-glorification, which shattered first the community between man and God, and then, with logical necessity, the community between man and man. From that time, every historical community has been merely an emergency structure on a shattered foundation. Thus, the greatest builder of community ever seen in history, the Homo imperiosus, was only an emergency builder. He could only take emergency measures, which could never overcome radically, and therefore definitively, the original daimonic distress of human society. The Homo imperiosus could bind the dragon, but he could not slay it." This important statement tells us much about the theology of the state. In terms of Scripture, the state is a ministry of justice. It has a duty to restrain and punish evil, and to protect the godly. It must administer the law of God, which is alone justice. All man-made codes of law being examples of man's evil, his attempt to play God. A theology of the state begins with the fact, whether admitted or not, of man's fall, man's sin. Every civil government has at least two premises. First, there is a tacit recognition that sin exists and must be dealt with. The definitions of sin may vary. For Marxism, it is capitalism, individualism, and above all, Christianity. For some states, it has been dissent from the king, the dictator, or the state. For others, it has been a legal code which at points resembles God's law and at other points reveals its radical departure. The Code of Hammurabi, 1728 to 1686 BC, is an example. We read, for example, 129. If the wife of a seigneur has been caught while lying with another man, they shall bind them and throw them into the water. If the husband, literally owner, master, of the woman wishes to spare his wife, then the king in turn may spare his subject. This law against adultery is not God-centered. It is not God's justice that requires satisfaction, but the husband's quote-unquote rights. If he prefers his wife alive, though guilty, then the king's property rights in the life of the subject, the adulterer, has to be recognized also. The law here recognizes guilt, but it is against man, not with reference to God and his law. Again, in Hittite law, we read 194. If a free man cohabits with several slave girls, sisters, and their mother, there shall be no punishment. If blood relations sleep with the same free woman, there shall be no punishment. If father and son sleep with the same slave girl or harlot, there shall be no punishment. 195. If, however, a man sleeps with the wife of his brother while his brother is living, it is a capital crime. If a man has a free woman in marriage and then lies also with her daughter, it is a capital crime. If a man has a daughter in marriage and then lies also with her mother or her sister, it is a capital crime. 200a. If a man does evil with a horse or a mule, there shall be no punishment. He must not appeal to the king, nor shall he become a case for the priest. If anyone sleeps with a foreign woman, and also with her mother or her sister, there shall be no punishment. As against this, we have Leviticus chapter 18, verse 17, and verses 23 to 30. In the prefix to these laws, Leviticus chapter 18 verses 1 to 5, we are plainly told that this is God's law, and He is the Lord, our sovereign. Leviticus chapter 18 verses 23 to 30 tells us that judgment strikes both the people who commit these sins and their land. Hittite law, however, made it clear that a man could do as he chose with his property, whether women or animals, or with foreign women who had no rights. Only where free women were involved who came from families with rights and powers was such incest wrong. The basis of God's law is that we are His creation, possession, and property. The basis of Hammurabi's law and of Hittite law is the property rights of kings and free men and women. The premise of law in the ancient and modern state is the sovereign power and property rights of the state over the land and the people. Such states have, over the centuries, both banned abortion and legalized it in terms of the manpower needs of the state. In this century, both the Soviet Union and Red China swung from one extreme to the other. Lawmaking is an assertion of sovereignty and divinity. It is also the means of coping with evil. The modern state has pursued the logic of its sovereignty to its conclusion. If guilt is the product of sin, then there must be atonement for sin. Ancient Rome and other societies had their annual lustrations to secure atonement and release all citizens from guilt. This, quote, solution, end quote, was not a successful one. Men continued as before to sin. The modern era has seen the rise of environmentalism. Evils in society are social evils, and they have their origin in a variety of conditioning factors. These can include bad education, bad families, bad religion, a bad community, and so on. The solution, then, is more power to the state to alter the circumstances. Given the powerful role of Christianity in society and in the life of man, it follows that biblical faith and practice must of necessity become, in time, a major target of state hostility and legal action. Stauffer's comment: "You must first grasp the reality of guilt if you are to know what history is, can be expanded. What the state does to Christianity and to man will be determined by its doctrine of sin and guilt. The life of the state requires that it adheres itself to the problem of social order and to the sin and guilt which disrupts it. For the humanistic state, the solution is state control, and the problem is a false view of sin and guilt stemming from Christianity. Humanistic statism believes in a one-world order based on the family of man concept, unity in the fact of humanity rather than in the person of Christ. Given this faith, the humanist, like John Dewey, will see the biblical division between Christian and anti-Christian, the saved and the lost, good and evil, as divisive and anti-democratic. In Scripture, the state has a place in dealing with the problem of sin and guilt. The Church proclaims the fact of the atonement through Jesus Christ as the only means of justification and the necessary concomitant to personal regeneration, which is the source of social regeneration. The state, under God and in terms of His law word, can then cope with the fact of sin. The humanistic state seeks to be more than man, more than a part of the human order. It supplants atonement through Christ with a variety of false solutions to the problem of guilt. Not only does it fail to solve the problem of sin, but it aggravates it greatly because the state becomes the sinner in chief. Its humanistic laws enthrone and turn into gospel an anti-Christian quote-unquote solution. The psalmist tells us that we cannot have fellowship with such a state since it is not in fellowship with God, and declares, "Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law. They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous, and condemn the innocent blood. Psalm 94, verses 20 and 21. Any church, state, or institution which will not be ruled by the triune God and his law word is a throne of iniquity, and we cannot have fellowship with it. If the atonement of Jesus Christ is basic to our faith and life, no other solution in any sphere to the problem of sin and guilt can be acceptable to us. Any departure from that law incurs judgment. Covenantal dominion means that God, not man, is in control, and the control is total. God's law covers war and peace, courts, domestic relations, labor relations, inheritance, real property, personal property, money and interest, debtor and creditor, contracts, crime, animals, widows and orphans, time and land, weights and measures, diet, clothing, and all things else. It binds us in the totality of our lives. A fundamental requirement of covenantal dominion is to work for our freedom from every kind of slavery, to sin, debt, other men, and so on. We are not to seek our freedom through rebellion, but through obedience, faithfulness, and godly reconstruction. Paul declares, "Let every man abide in the same calling wherein he was called. Art thou called, being a servant? Care not for it, but if thou mayest be free, use it rather. For he that is called in the Lord, being a servant, is the Lord's freeman. Likewise also he that is called, being free, is Christ's servant. Ye are bought with a price. Be not ye servants of men. Brethren, let every man, wherein he is called, therein abide with God." 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 20 to 24.